Okay. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. It's Monday, the 13th of May, and today it's another interview with another guest, Aleksander Baj, who has agreed to talk to us today in the series of Rozmowy z angielskim. So, Aleksander, welcome to our meetings. Welcome to the podcast, so to say, that we're creating. So can you tell us something about yourself, who you are and what you do professionally?
Hello, good afternoon. First of all, thank you very much for your invitation. I'm very pleased to take part in this series of conversations, and I'm very happy to, yes, to tell you a little about what we do and how it happened. I run a publishing house. That's my main activity. I run it with my wife, and we are publishing books mainly about parenting and about education and about um, new attitudes towards parenting and education. So we started the company. We started the company. It's almost yes, 14 years ago. When
14.
yes, when we
Right.
were still students ourselves, and
Mhm.
yes, and that's what we still do.
Do.
We are
Okay.
also uh, educating for children in homeschooling, and we run our own podcast, and we are involved in the work of Arno Stern, who is a creator of unique painting places called Mallard. So that would
Right.
be
So yes, so many things, and I guess that before you've created your publishing house, and its name is Element, right?
yes.
So let us everybody let us know that it's Element. You've also engaged in translation. So let me just ask you about your background when it comes to education. So have you finished any studies concerning English, or was it something else? And how did you get to the point where you just decided to, set up a publishing house? So
Mhm.
what was the story before, once you've done it?
Yes. I never graduated from any linguistic studies. Um,
Mhm.
After my high school, I went to study law, and the main reason I went to study law was that I didn't have any better idea. So I always found myself at school, at high school. I always thought I was pretty good student in different fields, but I never felt I'm special at anything. I never felt I have a talent or a passion, and I liked languages always since I remember. I remember being 7. I asked my parents myself um, that they find English classes for me and my brother, and we had
Mhm.
great luck to meet great English teachers on the way. Mm,
Mhm.
yes, but after high school, I had no idea what to do, so I thought the law possibly is a good option,
Why
and
not? Why
yes,
not?
it's something that we usually consider as a reasonable decision, and a pretty, I don't know, maybe safe way for the future.
Mhm.
So I went to study law, but when the first exams came, uh, I realized I really don't want to be a lawyer. Uh, but I really didn't.
Yeah, but was it because of, the extent of knowledge that you had to muster, or was it just, the fact that you just realized, nah, it's not for me. I'm not going to study, civil procedure and anything. No, it's not for me.
I think it was everything that was involved. It was uh, the way of studying it requires. Um, yes, the whole process, and although I had really good teachers too, but it was really, yes, like you said, probably I felt this is not for me, and it was so um, frustrating and so tiring that I really couldn't imagine I can go on for the next 5 years and then for the rest of my life, actually, because that was
Mhm.
on the table.
Right.
Mm, so I started looking, I started thinking of what else could give me some sense of satisfaction and fulfillment. I read a few books, and somewhere at this point, I was on my first year of law when
So
my
yeah, you were 19, 20, right? More
yes,
or less
yes,
19. Uh-huh.
and my English teacher, my high school English teacher, sent me uh, Sir Ken Robinson's lecture on do school skill creativity. I know that many students of linguistic students in Poland know this lecture. It's a famous TED talk. It has hundreds of millions of views.
Mhm.
Um, enormous sense of humor of Sir Ken Robinson.
Yeah, a
But also
specific one, but it's a brilliant sense of humor, I guess. Once
yes,
you've learned, like, once you listen to many talks of, Sir Ken Robinson, you just learn that it's his sense of humor, and it's just, it's brilliant because it defines him, who he was, right? He was very, very, positive in a way. Hmm.
yes, and when I had a little chance to meet him personally, and I learned that this is actually the way he is. That's how he
Hmm.
speaks to people, even if he's not on stage. It was just his
Right.
way. So yes, but apart from that, it was a huge dose of inspiration to me. Because um, there was this man who has spent all his life in education. He was a teacher. He was a university professor. He was a leader of governmental committees in education. He was working with organizations, with universities, with um, whole educational systems around the world. And there he is saying, um, "We are doing it all wrong." That education needs to be changed. And he has this, then he has this sentence that. mm, many highly talented, brilliant, creative people think they're not because what they were good at school wasn't valued, or was actually stigmatized.
Hmm.
There is this man who says he believes deeply, after all life spent in education, that everyone has talents, that everyone has passions, but it's really hard to find for many people. Uh, and I, because of the way we are educated. And he said we all have great capacities and great creative capacities. We just need
Hmm.
to, they are often dormant, and we need to look for them. And I felt this is something, he's speaking to me because he had the answers to the questions I was asking myself. And
Hmm.
so after um, this talk, made a great impression on me. After I listened to it, I started looking for some information about Ken Robinson, and I learned that he has just written a book called The Element: How
Hmm.
Finding Your Passion Changes Everything. There was no Polish edition, so I ordered the original one. It was 2009, so it wasn't that easy then to order a book from
True.
the UK, but the book came, and he inspired me to start looking. And I realized that if I don't know what I want to do, then I just need to start looking. I need to, check different things, different ways, because from the point I'm standing at, I can only see what I can see. If I want to see more, I need to go further.
Hmm.
So I checked different things. I was traveling a little. Mm, I found some, jobs, like I was working in a hostel in the mountains. I found a work as a dealer in a casino. Um, I was also making some money for living out of technical translations. I
Hmm.
was um, translating text about recycling of the scrap of non-ferrous metals.
All
So
right. Easy peasy.
yes, but well paid for a student's pocket. So it it
Definitely.
it provided some money for living and for traveling, and that's what I did. And so when Ken Robinson's book, when I came across it, mm, I decided I want to translate it too. I did it to relax, to make a break from the from all this all the metals I was in.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it in the evenings and at nights. I wanted to give it to some to few friends of mine, to few people who were close to me. I just thought, they it would be really good for them to read this book. And
But you didn't have the idea in mind that, I'll translate it and I'll sell it. I'll make
no,
money out of it. No. So the idea was that you do it for pleasure in the evening, just to see how it's going. You're going to entertain your friends probably, but it wasn't, something that was your goal, like at the very beginning, that you'll just start making money on it.
no, no. At first, it
Mm-hmm.
was. I think the main thing it was that I found the book important, and I wanted, some other people to read it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then when I was um, somewhere deeper into translating the book, I started thinking it would be worth to find a publisher in Poland for that, especially that I knew that Ken Robinson wrote other books too.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, and then the casino part came. I was so I didn't do the. I stopped getting the orders for technical translation, so I found a job in a casino, and there, casino was hiring because before it was open only at night,
Mm-hmm.
10 p.m. to 6 a.m. But they wanted to be open in the afternoons too, so they needed more stuff, and they hired new dealers. So there were days where we were in a casino from 1 p.m. At 1 p.m. there are dealers in the casino. There are no clients at all. But
Right.
dealers need to stand at their tables anyway. So I had a lot of time, to do the thinking. And I remember standing there and thinking day after day that, perhaps I still have some money that I saved. Perhaps I can start up a publishing company and try to publish Ken Robinson's books myself. And I was
Okay.
hesitated a lot.
Uh-huh.
But then I think I was encouraged by another sentence by Ken Robinson that, if you're not prepared to be wrong, you will never come up with anything original. Uh,
True.
so I thought, okay, maybe I'll make a mistake, maybe I'll lose the money, but I will learn. Mm,
Uh-huh.
so that
But
made
have you
me.
done, yeah, but have you done any market research in different, publishing houses? Have you contacted anyone and did they just tell you that, no, we're not interested? Or did you just think that I'll do it myself? Was it because you wanted it so badly or because, you got rejected a few times and it was just the only option back then?
It was both. At first,
Mhm.
I tried to contact other publishers, but usually I either got no answer, or we are not interested. We are doing our publishing plans ourselves. So
Mhm. Right.
um, uh, so just after few tries, I just realized how hard it is to even get in touch with some publishing houses. So that was
Mhm.
my first impression, and the second was that, yes, I think I started thinking, that Ken Robinson is writing new books. There are some other English speaking books I like, so perhaps I could publish more. Perhaps it could just be the first one, and then we can. Um, I
Just
don't.
get off the ground.
Yes, I don't remember thinking that, um, about building a big publishing house. I
Mhm.
don't think it was my goal. But I remember I had few books in mind that I definitely wanted to publish.
Right. And um, where were you at that point? I mean, was law completely abandoned and you were no longer a student? And how old were you? Were you like 21 or 22 by now? Or how
Y-
old were you?
Mm, I think I was 22.
Hmm.
I was 22. Yes.
So pretty young
Yes.
still. Uh-huh.
And law wasn't formally completely abandoned, but because mm, yeah, because I found this job in a casino, and then I went traveling. I think I didn't pass my exams after the third year,
Mm-hmm.
and then I took a break. I mean,
Right.
there was
Uh-huh.
a procedure. I don't remember this exactly, but you could just
Like
um
a gap year of some
it was not a
sort.
gap year. It was
Mm-hmm.
sort of that you suspend your studies and you can then
Okay.
retake them within 5 years.
Okay. Right.
So I have
But you never
suspended.
came back.
I did
Oh,
actually.
you did. Okay.
Yes.
So there was a twist here. Uh-huh.
Uh, yes. I took. I suspended the studies for 2 years, and during these 2 years, I published the three first books. I acquired the rights for two next ones. Um, but
Within
it's
2 years' time, 3 books.
yes.
And you were the translator of all of
And I
them.
was the translator. That's why it went so slow. Yes,
So
because
slow. I thought that it was just amazing. 3 books in 2 years. I mean, so can you get into technicalities of this? Like, how did it work? I mean, how do you do it that you translate and then you just publish? I mean, do you just publish, or like, how does it work?
hmm well, the first thing is to get the rights for the
Mhm.
Polish translation of the book. So that was the hard part, especially for Ken Robinson. He was already very popular in other countries. He was already translated into over 30 languages, so he was valuable
Mhm.
for his publishers and agents. Um, so getting the rights, I didn't get the rights for the Element at first. And by the way, we were speaking about the name of our company, so it's named Element after Ken Robinson's book, The
Right,
Element.
so that's the inspiration.
Yes,
Okay. Uh-huh.
yes. The original title is The Element, and that's why we called the publishing house that way.
A
And
brilliant tribute to Sir Ken Robinson
yes, especially now
that
since
he's
he has
gone.
passed.
Yeah.
Yes. Um. So I translated some two other books, and then I got back to his agent, and he agreed to. I told him the story, that I'm pretty young guy from Poland, and I'm just inspired by Ken Robinson's work, and I'd like to publish it and work for it to be more popular in Poland. And he agreed. I believe that partly because he didn't get high offers from other publishers in Poland. So,
Mhm.
mm, so he decided to give me a chance. Mm, and so the first thing was to get the rights, and then you get into the translation, and that's probably the part that takes that's the most time consuming.
Mhm.
Mm, Especially that I couldn't always focus 100% on that only. I was, needed to do other things too. Yeah, but then after the book is translated, you need to do all the editing of the text.
Mhm.
It should be read by two or possibly three other people, and then with all the adjustments, and then just briefly, then you just need to have the file prepared for print. You need a cover.
Uh-huh. And how
And
did you find the people? How did you find the people who would actually edit the book, who would read it, who would introduce some changes to it? Were it like the people that that you knew, or completely like unknown people that you've just said, "Hi, hello, I've got a book. Can you edit it for me?"
yes,
Because
some of them.
what from what you've said, it's like, I've gained those, rights, IP rights, maybe because nobody paid more for it, but maybe it was because of your determination. Maybe it was because of your personality. And, the agent of, Ken Robinson just saw that you are just, young but determined. And he just said, why not give it a go? So maybe you are, a strong figure somehow, and you just encourage people to help you out even though you don't have any obvious connections with people, because you did everything on your own, right?
Yes, yes. At that
Mm-hmm.
point, I was doing everything on my own. Mm, I some of the people who I involved in the process, some of them I knew, some of them I didn't know. I had a chance to speak with few people who helped me. They just helped me for free. I remember one book publisher who agreed to meet me in Warsaw, just like that, and he told me a lot about the technicals. He gave me some contacts. He helped me to organize the distribution of the first, um, at least the first, uh, make the first steps to arrange the distribution of the books in Poland. I remember another. He was a pretty big entrepreneur and just a friend of some friends of mine, and he also spent 1 hour with me in just trying to help me with things I was struggling with. So it was I think it was an experience for me. It was some kind of even touching experience that there are people out there ready to help you, not expecting any reward, because they
Right.
were never expecting anything. And so that
And
was helpful.
uh-huh.
And
And I guess that this is something that, I want all of our listeners to retrieve once again, listen to it once again, because sometimes we feel that, we have an idea in mind, but we don't know anyone. It's not going to work. I'm not going to even try. But your example shows perfectly that, in fact, if you're determined enough, if you've set yourself a goal, and if you pursue it, with great passion, there will be people around you that will help you out. And it's not necessarily, for huge money. There will be people that will just help you out. So, I mean, you definitely need to try, because, you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take, right? So you
yes,
need to take the chance, and you did, and it paid
yes,
off.
I like
Uh-huh.
I like the way you just put it, um, because it wasn't obvious for me that too that it will play out that way. But yes, when you start moving, when you have a goal, because there were failures too, but when you know what you need to do, what you want to do, then you don't. I think you don't you don't think of those situations as failures. You just felt, okay, it will not go this way, so we look for another way. And when you keep trying, yes, then you finally meet people who will help you. You will finally meet the ways you didn't think of at the beginning. And mm, it was not an easy way, because it was definitely not easy. I never had enough money to actually start a company. I never had enough people, enough staff, and enough knowledge to do it. So it was a hard way. Um, but yes, because we knew what we want to do, then that helped us find ways. And and that's another thing I learned, that really there are many people out there who will help you, but you just need to ask. You need to. Some of them won't, but many people will spend an hour or two. They will share their knowledge, their experience, their contacts, and they will help you. And I think when I think of it, maybe it's because on their way they too met people who helped them, and now they are just giving back what they received at some point at their path. Perhaps at least for some of them.
Probably. And I guess that it's also crucial that you mentioned those failures, because we know that these were not failures. These were, the chances that you took, and they turned out to be not exactly as you've planned. But this is what's life about, right? You take, different roads, and then you decide that, well, maybe I took the wrong turn. Maybe I should go the opposite direction. But the point is, I mean, from what you've mentioned at the very beginning, it was like, yeah, I decided to read the book. Yes, I liked it. I decided to translate it, and then I published it. So, a perfect, simple story of, I have a dream, I go and realize it. But the part that you mentioned, a second ago, that yes, there were some issues, there were some challenges on the way, indicates that, well, it's not so brilliant from the very beginning, but you just have to face the music and you just, you just take what it is. And if it's not the turn left, you turn right. Yeah. And in the end, you succeed, right?
Yes, or mm, or you decide, maybe on the way you've learned something completely new about yourself, or
Mhm.
about, and that you decide to go, you decide that you want to go completely a different way.
Right.
But definitely, I think you need to be ready for that. It was that, it's not going to be easy. Um, just the valuable things, I think they are rarely easy. They're rarely for free, and
Mhm.
mm, yes, well, what helped me a lot was that, n- knowing precisely what I want to do,
Mhm.
and just making the decision, I will not give up. I will just keep looking for new ways.
Uh-huh.
And yes, the hard parts and, dead ends, they happened, and they still happen all the time. Uh,
Okay.
uh,
Yeah.
so I think, I keep trying to find the best direction. I keep um, just navigating.
Yeah.
Um,
Mhm. So can you
but
tell us, can you tell us right now? So you've started with 3 books. So, and it was like a tiny publishing house then,
yes.
right? But what about now? So, how many books do you offer, or how many people do you hire right now? Do you still engage in translation, or do you have perhaps your in-house translators department, or like how does it work right now? Because you started with a tiny thing, now it's grown enormously. So can you tell us like some data on it?
Hmm. Yes, I can share a few. Well, right now we have a little over 20 active titles.
Mhm.
Um, so after a few, first person who joined me was, my wife. Although, um, that's also part of the story, because we um, actually we met because I published the book, because we um, when I published the first book, then the students magazine of Jagiellonian University, they wrote an article about me, which I found a little, I don't know, I was not so easy with it, because I already suspended my studies, but they wrote that, I'm still a student.
Studying, yeah.
Yes, and I started a publishing house. Anyway, my father was very proud of this, that I that he could find me in a magazine, and he scanned it and he sent it to his friends, but very widely. Mm, it was a very broad group that received this email, and one of his friends answered, congratulations, my daughter would love to read the book. So I just left the book for my father, and then a few days later, I received a text message from the girl. Thank you for the book, and uh, I invite you for a coffee or for hot chocolate or something, because it appeared
Right.
that we are both studying in the same city, and that's how I met my wife, Dominika, who quickly she started helping me.
Mhm.
Mm, so she started helping me before we were married, and then, um, so it all came together. Then we got married. Now we have 4 children, and we run the company together.
Right.
Uh,
And it's
mm,
all because of love. I mean, not
y-
because of love, but it helped you out probably on the way somewhere.
yes, definitely. It was also, you know, Ken Robinson knew the story that we met because I published his book,
Mm-hmm.
and he liked it. I remember that he was once he agreed to speak at the conference in Poland we organized, but he connected online for the
Mm-hmm.
conference, and he started with our story and saying that he feels a little responsible for what we do here, and kind of a godfather of the publishing company and the whole story, which is true.
Yeah.
Uh, but back to your question, yes, we started. Mm, After some time, we hired two people. I realized that most of the publishing companies um, they hire little people. They usually free outsource
Right.
things.
Mm-hmm.
So most of the translators are freelancers, and the editors and the DTP people and graphic designers.
Uh-huh.
So we were not publishing enough to hire them full time. So we were also um, we had a we were working with the same people on most of the books, but they were freelancers.
Mm-hmm.
They had their own companies. They were working for other publishers too. And then we also started organizing events because we started publishing books by Andres Stern, who is a great speaker, with his father Arno Stern, with a Polish neuroscientist Marek Kaczmarzyk.
Mm-hmm.
Mm, So I think between 2014 and 2019, we were focused more on organizing events than on publishing new books. We were publishing new books, but slowly because
Uh-huh.
mm, we were on the way for a lot of time, and we were doing a lot of great meetings, and
Mm-hmm.
yes, so that was the part of it was part of our way. And then we spoke about the dead ends. So one of the biggest we um, encountered was when the COVID started. We couldn't
Right.
we couldn't organize events anymore.
Mm-hmm.
We decided we will focus on the publishing house, but we decided that we will quit the big distribution, and that we will start building our own online bookstore, so that our books will be available only in our bookstore.
Uh-huh.
And this required some money and time to start off, but thankfully at that point we had some money after the previous years. And soon we started selling a lot of books, really much more than before.
Mm-hmm.
But it was all it all relied on paid commercials on
Right.
social media, basically.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. So after a year and a half, maybe a little more than 18 months, suddenly, really out of the sudden, we found ourselves with no money at all.
Ah,
And
so there is a twist like this, da 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 da.
yeah,
What happened?
well, um, uh, it's a long story, but long story
Right.
short,
Yeah.
the commercials costed more than the whole thing earned. And but it was we didn't see it at fast enough that at some point that we that we crossed the line, that you couldn't just we
Right.
because we thought we are still optimizing the process, and that the fact that we were selling a lot of books was um, a signal for us that perhaps it's a good way. We just need to um, yeah, find the optimal conditions under which it works. Mm, and then it was too late. Then we hit the ground.
Right.
So that was a hard moment. Mm, so we couldn't hire new people anymore, and since then, it's a new. Mm, I think since then we are on the new. We found ourselves in a completely new situation, because now we couldn't think of developing the company. We needed to think about surviving.
Uh-huh.
So
Readjusting, creating some other options, diversifying perhaps, yeah?
yes, so first of all, we knew and realized that we don't have money to publish new books. And publishing new books was, part of the fact that we ran short of money quickly, because at that point we were publishing 5 new titles at once, at one,
Mm-hmm.
you know, uh, uh,
Like simultaneously.
yes,
Uh-huh.
between October and December, we wanted 5 titles to be out. So that also costed a lot, and before we knew, it was bad. So then we realized we have to focus on online courses, because online courses don't require that much money to produce, and
Mhm.
just to try to regain some capital to be able to start publishing new books. So that's the point we are at now, that
Right.
I believe we are through the worst period. Now we can slowly start to think
Uh-huh.
about developing the publishing part of the business again.
Right. Even further. So you've weathered the storm. Now you're sailing pretty like let's say safe and sound, and still looking into the future, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But it's absolutely brilliant that, throughout the pandemic and throughout all the things that happened along the way, you still didn't give up. So there is this perseverance, and there is this fact, that, well, oh, it's another problem, but I'll tackle it, I'll deal with it, and well, we'll just sort things out. Right. So it's just brilliant. And can I ask you about, this education, yeah, and parenting thing? Because, it all started when you were 19 and you read the book, 19 or 20, and you read the book. Now you're a bit older, a bit more experienced, I'd say, and you still follow, like the footsteps that Ken Robinson somehow established, right? So you found your way also in educating people about perhaps better ways of education, right? Because like you and me, we both know what regular school looks like. We know that it's not as effective as it could be or as it should be. So why does it matter to you, perhaps, to also educate people, in that field, not only by publishing books, but also by organizing these trainings, courses? Like, why does it matter to you?
uh, that's the part of the story where the things you do and the path you take, they take you to new places.
Hmm.
Because being 19, I would never think I will engage in education, and I would yes, I would never
Uh-huh.
think this will be the field I will be working in. Mm, and now it's an important, because we are not just any publishing company. We are publishing books specifically for education and for
Hmm.
parents. So that's something I didn't think of. It was never in my mind. It's just when I published the Element, the first book, I I thought it's a book mostly for young people, but to help them find their way, or for those people who are maybe um, in the later stages of life, and they feel they are not doing what they're supposed to. They didn't find their passion. They didn't find things that could give them fulfillment, but they don't want to give up. They still want to keep looking, and I thought that's the book for them. but soon we realized that Ken Robinson is most wanted in education. Teachers were the ones who were interested in Ken
Mhm.
Robinson's work, and they started inviting us for teachers conferences to speak about, or just to bring the books for people attending the conference. And also at the time, I think the alternative education movement in Poland started growing. There were first democratic schools, there were first,
Mhm.
so-called free schools.
Mhm.
mm, and they were also the ones who knew Sir Ken Robinson. And Ken Robinson inspired many of those people just to start doing what they do. So also they were inviting us for their meetings, for their conferences, and that's how we came across Andrew Stern, who was,
Mhm.
probably now he is our first most important author because of what we do.
Uh-huh.
Um, we came across him because of the film Alphabet. It was a
Uh-huh.
documentary movie from, it was released 2013, I think. We first saw the movie on alternative education conference, and so I could say by accident we found ourselves being in that tribe, being among people who work in education, and we found that what we do is important for
Mhm.
them. That's how we met. That's how we came across Marek Kaczmarzyk, and that's why we started publishing his books too.
Mhm.
And
Brilliant books as well. Yeah. We need to point that out. They are absolutely brilliant.
he's a very important. I mean, what he says, I think, is very important for our thinking about children, about
Mhm.
our own education, and about our schools. Really, I think it's um, what neuroscientists brings is crucial um, for what we do in education. Mm, and uh, sort of, parallelly, we started having our own children, and people were asking us, our daughter was, 1 year old, and they already asked us, what school will you pick, and we didn't
Uh-huh.
know. But of course, we had to decide much sooner than we expected. Time ran quickly. Mm, so it's all somehow connected, and we decided to, we work in education, we do books about education, and events about education. mm, because that's how it came together.
Uh-huh.
And that's the part we never planned, and we never thought that's the way it will go.
Uh-huh. And the question would be sort of rhetorical, but are you happy with the decisions that you've made to homeschool your children? Like, do you think that the path that Ken Robinson somehow started, like, because he advocated for, helping or like facilitating children's natural ability to develop and learn, to like not squander their creativity. So do you think that, the path that somehow inspired you turned out to be the right path for your family, but also for like, the vast majority of, teachers that attend your conferences? Do you think that it's proof that, Ken Robinson was right to
Mm,
some extent?
I think Ken Robinson was right. I
Uh-huh.
think, but Ken Robinson was clear about that his mission is to change public schools.
Mhm.
Mm, and his mission was not to tell us all how to make schools, but that we all change our attitude, that
Mhm.
we all change the way we think about educating our children. And for us, homeschooling our children is not a decision we once made and that will never be changed.
Mhm.
Mm, that's the path we choose now. We see great benefits of it, and by that I mean mainly that we see the chances our children get to um, do what they really want, to do what they like, and to develop the talent and the natural capabilities that they have. And just by being free to do with their time what they want.
They
And
are in their elements, right?
yes, not
Mm-hmm.
yes, and that's the chance they get thanks to homeschooling for now. Mm, but this may change.
Uh-huh.
In at some point we may decide that they will go to some alternative school or to regular school, and it's not about that way or this way of educating children. I think it's about our attitude, which and the attitude of Sir Ken Robinson is the same as for Andrew Stern, and it's
Mm-hmm.
all based really firmly on what neuroscientists do and tell to us about the development of our brain and of our children.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Ken Robinson is right, not in a way that he sort of showed the way that we stick to, but in a way that he showed us the way of thinking.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's something that's important to us in our thinking of education, that we don't make one decision for forever for our children. We may change. Maybe one of our children will go to school and the others will not, because it's not, their path may be different. They're writing
Uh-huh.
their own stories. So mm, we are just open to what it's not an easy way too. It requires a great deal of arranging the life of the whole family. um,
Right. The logistics is pretty complex, I assume.
Very complex, yes,
Uh-huh.
and ever changing. It's once you've set things up finally, then in a few weeks you need to do some reassessments and
Mm-hmm.
readjusting. So it's a constant process. um, we are happy about it for now, and we really it's amazing to see how children develop when we give them the freedom,
Uh-huh.
uh, and what will
And I
happen.
guess, yeah, and I guess the freedom, but it's also um like the ability to choose, because I guess that, in most schools, children have like no say in the decisions that are being made, right? So I guess what you're doing is like involving young people. Well, essentially these are your children that are pretty young right now, but soon they will be teenagers, right? So I guess the fact that they have a choice, that they have to, or that they can decide for themselves, will be a crucial part, of their future, right? Because they are no longer told what to do. They will just decide for themselves. So this is, the the part that is missing, I guess, in most, educational systems, like in Poland, like in the regular system, that there is no freedom to choose. You
Very
just,
much.
yeah, take the path that someone has created, and that's it. So you are, let's say, spreading the information, the news about it. Hey, young people can make decisions on their own, and it's good for them, right?
Yes, and that's something um, we see that it's something that our children do, but they don't even notice, but because they don't know. They make their own decision about how they will use their time, about how they will about what they will do day after day, week after week. mm, and they are not even aware that it's something special, because that's
Mm-hmm.
because never were, none of them were in a public school yet. But I
Right.
think that's a very important part, and that's what especially mm people in, when they do the alternative schools, the democratic, the free schools, that's what they focus on so much, that we give children
Mhm.
the right to decide about their education. So that's
Right.
a big part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And you've mentioned Arno Stern. So can you tell us something about here, what kind of person he is? Like, who is he essentially? And it is associated with this Mallord movement, right? So what kind of initiative is that?
mm, Arnold Stern is 99 years old now. He will turn 100 next month. And
Brilliant.
yes. Um, I'm just looking for for a brief way to tell the story. Arnold Stern was born a German Jew in 1924. So in 1933, when Hitler gained power in Germany, his parents overnight decided to leave Germany, and they were refugees for 12 years until the end of World War II. They ended up in France. All the family that was left in Germany, none of them lived through the war, and they survived in France. And after the war, Arno, as a 20-year-old, he received a job in an orphanage, and he was asked to arrange some classes for children, and he just found some crayons and just some paper, and he started making drawing classes for them. And after some time, he received a package from United States, and there were paints and brushes. So he was able to make painting classes for them. And he was, I think, since he was very young, he had this also very specific attitude toward children. He was very a great respect to children. He really cared to give them the best conditions for painting that he could arrange, and he was always present. It was not like he was just there you go, you have your paints and brushes here, and do whatever you like. He was always there. And children always felt his presence, and he showed them the technique of using the tools, but he never told them what to do, what to paint, and he never taught them to paint. And he just gave them a complete freedom to do whatever they want with the tools. And what he observed in the orphanage was what he now calls an explosion of expression, or explosion of spontaneous expression. And when the orphanage was closed, he wanted to continue what he started, and he started his painting place in Paris called Malort in 1949, and he was running it until 2020 non-stop. 71 years. He closed the place because of COVID pandemic, because of lockdown in France. And okay, so that's the short way to tell it. Now there are over 2,000 Malorts around the world. He wrote a lot of books. His work was he observed some special processes that happen to children who paint in the conditions he creates. And so his work was popular among journalists, among movie makers, also by educators. His place was visited by French Minister of Education. And yes, so we engaged in promoting Malort in Poland. And also Arno Stern and his wife Michelle, they decided not to send their children to school. So Arno's son Andre Stern and his sister, they never went to school. And Andre Stern is now pretty famous in few countries as a person who never went to school. He's writing books about it. He's a speaker, and he's now unschooling two of his own children. Yes. So.
Right. So this is, I mean, so I'm like lost for words. At some point, I wanted to say, like, Wow, wow, what a story. So, in fact, I guess this is going to be like the perfect like wrap up of our conversation. So, um, your inspiration, for what you're doing right now started like many, many years ago, but you're still like moving in that direction, maybe slightly changing some stuff, maybe adjusting a little bit, but still, you know, I guess that you are inspired 15 years ago. And I do believe that you might be an inspiration to some people in the future as well. And I guess that the books of the authors that you've mentioned here, Ken Robinson, Arno Stern, Andrea Stern, they are all available in your publishing house, Element. So for those of you listening, if you're interested in reading any of the books, go and buy them because they are absolutely worth reading. I've bought some myself, and yeah, I just, once I've started like reading some of the books, I thought about contacting you, Aleksander, because I thought like, you know, what you're doing is great. It's so inspirational. And in fact, it gives so many like positive feelings that, you've achieved so much in your life together with your wife. Probably your children will achieve a lot as well. And you are surrounding yourself with so many people that are so unique. So thank you very much for the time that we've spent together. Thank you for, accepting the invitation. Thank you for sharing your story with us. And I hope that you've enjoyed it as well. So thank you once again.
I've enjoyed it very much, and I'm um, touched by what you said. I think of myself that what I actually did was I found few people who inspired me on the way, and I decided just to mm, let other people know them. And I think that was what drove me, and still drives me in and us with what we do. Thank you very much for the kind words. If this can be of any inspiration for others, then I'm really happy. Um, I think mm, it's it's especially important for me that uh, knowing the hard parts,
Mhm.
the difficulties on the way, it's always really precious to know that someone actually appreciates what we do, and this is the greatest reward we can get. You know
Mhm.
that
Definitely.
someone says what you just said, that it's of some importance for other people. So thank you for your invitation. Thank you for your appreciation of
Yeah.
what we do. Uh, it's
And yeah,
really
I hope that we shall see each other one day, maybe during some educational workshops, meetings, conferences. I'm going to let my students all about you and what you do. Maybe they will follow in your footsteps, right? So who knows? So thank you once again, and goodbye.
thank you very much again. It was a pleasure. I hope to see you too somewhere on our ways. So goodbye, and until we see each other again.
Yes, okay.